About 6 years ago, I was walking to my apartment from my parents' house. I was 20 at the time, and my car had broken down. My mom had let me borrow her car while mine was in the shop. The shop was half a block from my apartment, which was 16 blocks from my parents' house. Near the end of the workday, the mechanic had called me and told me that my car was ready to pick up. So I dropped off my mom's car and her keys at her house, and then was walking home. I worked a late shift at the movie theater and didn't get off work until after midnight most nights. Since it was late, I knew my parents would have already gone to bed. I didn't want to bother them for a ride, so I just decided to walk. It was a late summer evening, so I wasn't cold or anything, and I enjoyed the solitude. Usually, if I wasn't at least with other people, I had Savage, my whirlipede, keeping me company. It just so happened that on that particular night, Savage was staying over at the Poké Center. I had never been much into traveling, and like most people, didn't really battle all that often. That was mainly left up to adventurers, celebrities, or law enforcement. Obviously, I'm not any of those. My roommate had insisted that we battle just for fun. I relented, and Savage, despite his name, got wrecked. The nurse at the Poké Center said I could come back and get him the next day. So anyway, as circumstance would have it, that night, I was truly alone. I lived in a moderately populated city, so encountering a wild Pokemon other than common rodents and birds was pretty uncommon, and those usually ran away once you stepped toward them. There also wasn't much crime in that particular neighborhood. That's why I didn't think twice about walking home without my Pokemon to protect me. The fastest way back to my apartment cut through the city park. I was about a third of the way through the park when things started to get weird. I was on my phone. I had plenty of battery left, but it got really dim and then flickered off, almost like an old TV losing the good frequency. It was a pretty up-to-date phone, so it was really strange that it behaved like that. I stopped and started to take apart my phone to see if I could figure out what happened, but then the lampposts went dark too. I was immediately uncomfortable, with that pit in your stomach like you had just watched an especially violent scene in a movie. I put my phone and all of its pieces into my pocket and decided it would be best if I just ran the remainder of the park. Only I found that I couldn't run. I felt like there were invisible, ice-cold hands gripping my ankles and holding me to the ground. I started to panic and tried to yell for help even though I hadn't seen anyone in the entire walk that evening. I tried to yell, but the air in my lungs felt like it had been sucked out once my mouth opened. Then I saw the eyes. White, hollow eyes glaring at me. At the time, I had no idea what it could be. The eyes were just floating there with no body, no face. I felt paralyzed with fear. It was the worst feeling that I had ever experienced. Under the eyes, a sinister grin started to materialize, and I realized that I was staring into the hateful glare of a ghastly. I prayed for help as it approached me. And then, against my will, my head reared back, and a long, pink, rotting tongue stretched out of its wicked jaws and burned up the front of my neck. I knew with certainty that I was about to die, and then I passed out. I woke up 3 days later in a hospital bed. Supposedly, someone had found me in the middle of the park, rambling incoherently. I had a bandage on my neck. The injury the doctor could only describe as severe decay. I still have the scar, but it freaks me out so much to talk about it that to this day when people ask, I tell them it was some freak oil burn or something and then change the subject. Now I always make sure that Savage is with me wherever I go, but I swear, still sometimes I can smell that rotting tongue of the ghastly, and for a moment don't think I can lift my feet. Then I'm able to take a step.